So, this is our deck dinner for February the 24th. It's 12:30-ish, and it's beautiful. I'm glad I came out. Now, I'm gonna talk about a bunch of films. That one's my favorite. But we've been watching a lot because I'm doing artwork, and so I'm not making good meals, I have to admit, because I'm busy. And well, you see, the thing is I should have been working on this watercolor art earlier. This is due today, so I have to get it back to the library. I'm working from a video, painting with watercolors, and I've showed you this before. I've been playing around with it. First I just watched it, I don't know, 5 times or something like that. I think it was 5. Anyway, and then I did a few things, and then now I'm going through everything. So I'm doing all of the projects. So I'm having a little bit of trouble with the basic landscape, getting the cumulus looking sort of clouds, the big puffy cotton balls. I'm having trouble with those, but the other clouds, the more, I guess, cirrus or stratus, I don't know, they're doing okay. I'm very happy with those. And the seascape worked out well. It didn't work out like hers did, so I'm gonna have to try it a few times, so I might be up all night. But anyway, and I still have to do the flower and the bird, but I have played around a little bit with those techniques, so we'll see. I'm mostly excited about how this has helped me improve water, like doing ocean sort of seascape, and clouds. Everybody wants to know how to do clouds, and wow, you know, I've tried so many times before and I could never get them quite right, but she's a great teacher. So this is Kateri Ewing, and it's a 2 DVD set, and she's awesome. Anyway, now I suppose I'll just go back. I'll work backwards with this. So I'll talk about this for a minute. This, I ate almost, well, I think it took me 2 days to eat this bag worth, and I saved a little bit. James ate a little bit of it, but not much, but I saved the rest for him. They're actually really good. Our Little Rebellion, born in Liberty, New York. Born, I like that. Bean crisps. Salt of the earth. Always gluten-free, never fried. Never ever fried. It's non-GMO and very yum. That was given to us, and yeah, it didn't last long. But I haven't really been able to, I haven't had a lot of control over what I've been eating lately, but anyway, I'm eating the salad, and this was made by Safeway. Garden salad large. And it had a price tag of $14.50 on it. And it always surprises me what people will pay for these salads already made, but you know, I guess it does take a lot of time to wash vegetables and stuff like that. So, time is money. This had quite an assortment on top, but on the bottom it was mostly iceberg lettuce. Today I added strawberries. Well, I add pumpkin seeds to mine too, but I put balsamic vinegar on mine. James's I put hot chili, olive oil, balsamic, and pumpkin seeds and raisins and strawberries and avocado. I think that's it. So anyway, the first movie I'll talk about that has been going on while I've been painting, and boy, this was hard to have on even though I was very distracted with work. My comments for this: Madeline's Madeline, Catwoman, crappy art film, 1.5 hours of this? Terrible. Ooh, put that there. Raising the Dinosaur Giant is an hour-long PBS doc about the Titanosaur, the latest brontosaurus. Portlandia season 6. Now, this one had the woman from Orange is the New Black. I don't know her character's name. Who else was in this? Can't remember. Anyway, it was funny. Oh, the Flaming Lips were in this. That's right. It says on the back different people who were in this. Anyway, oh, I think her name is Zoe Kravitz. I'm not sure though, but that name's on the back here and it rings a bell, so maybe. Anyway, I have to admit I find the humor in Portlandia kind of offensive, but at the same time, I find it funny. Just, I mean, there's one point, okay, I watched both of these, so where's the other one? Well, I don't know what I've done with the other one. I had seasons 5 and season 6, and I don't know where season 5 went. I was planning on bringing it out. Oh, it's on the bottom here. You go ahead and eat, my darling. And you can eat those bean crisps, because I've eaten almost all of them, and you deserved half the bag. I just couldn't stop myself. So, anyway, the humor in Portlandia, funny, and offensive at the same time. I say this because there's a lot of things, like there was one point in this where, I don't know which one, because these were just on in the background while I was doing art, and I really wasn't paying attention that well, but, like, one joke about, people who have temporary disabilities, like carpal tunnel and stuff, and it's like, okay, well, if you're an actor, that might not really affect you too much, but if you're a gardener, let me tell you, or if you're a typist, or if you're working in a factory. I mean, these things aren't a joke, really, for people who actually have to work for a living.
Or a surgeon, can you
imagine?
You know,
so it's offensive when they talk about things like this, when they joke about things like this. You know, it's not a joke for a lot of people. They don't understand it. It's not a part of their world, so it's a joke to them. Well, it's not a joke to the people who actually have to work for a living. So, anyway, and especially since they're probably not going to be taken seriously by the doctors either, and then they don't get any kind of temporary disability. They're having to try to work with that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a real
anyway
thing. It really happens. So
yeah, and some other stuff, like they were making fun of. There was, and it was funny, you know, there was a guy who he was, there's this maid who comes into the house. He's staying at home, and the wife is out working, and the maid comes in to clean, and the maid doesn't know English very well, but she says, so you're at home and the wife is working, so you're a feminist then? Like, because he doesn't understand, she doesn't really understand the meaning of feminist, and he doesn't either. So, he decides he's a feminist, and he says, yeah, I'm like a stay-at-home dad without any children. And he, you know, at one point the wife asked him, so do you want to cook dinner or anything? And no, he doesn't want to do that, you know. But yeah, so I mean, anyway, so yeah, I laugh at it, but at the same time, it is really offensive for most people, honestly. So, anyway, this is the next one on my backwards list. November Criminals. And this was the guy from Baby Driver. And I didn't expect to like that movie, and it was enjoyable, and so was this one. Quite beautiful for a teen detective film, I put down. So If you're a teen, I imagine you would like that very much. Now, let's see what I'm on now. Oh, Venus. Okay. Venus. This one's Canadian. And I'll just read what I wrote. About a movie coming out, about a man coming out as a woman. Sid is basically transitioning within the closet, while her 14-year-old son has come into her life to pull her out into the real world. I believe all of the characters in this. The teenage son is happy to have another mother to serve him food, asks for Sid to make him orange chicken and cookies. The boy is happy when grandmother serves him in the way he'd hoped for. I don't believe that the boyfriend would ever stay with Sid. They are a believable couple in the movie, but not for the long term. They're very different people. He's really into fitness, she's into fashion. The movie does seem Canadian. I don't know how to explain that, but if you're Canadian, you're watching a lot of Canadian films, you know what I'm saying.
It's not necessarily
but it's
bad.
also, it's not.
Good.
But it's also well done and says important things. So I think everyone should take the time to watch this. It's funny that the boy keeps hoping that his transgender mom is famous. You know, it's just the kind of thing a teenage boy would think. Oh, you're transgender, and it's, seeing trans, you know. Yeah, it's believable. Anyway, the writer really paid attention here. I enjoyed this. But then I'm Canadian. Okay. Oh, wrong one. My order's kind of mixed up. Yeah. Suspiria. This is a 1977 film. It's artfully filmed. It begins in the pouring rain. A young woman manages to hail a cab to travel to a red building, famous German dance academy. She's trying to get in, but is denied entry into the building. It's some interior designer dreamed this one up, says James. There's a lot of color in this.
I can't even remember saying that. I was saying I think that's a great line.
Yeah, well, it was yours.
It's just because it's my thought. But
the first murder we see was so ridiculous. Why stab and then hang? That rope was thin and either would have broke or ripped the woman's head right off. That was a long fall and a long rope. Not sensible or believable. All image, no substance. It's over the top, overacted, overfelt, without enough thought or planning. This film seems like it was made by choreographers, fashion designers, or interior designers. Totally superficial. I haven't much respect for fashion designers or interior designers, or dancers. I have to admit, of the arts, these are low art types. If the people who filmed this or set up some of the scenes were used by filmmakers with something to say and brains, something powerful could be made. But this really isn't worth watching. It's basically porn without the sexual gratification. Still, I suppose it could be on a large screen with the sound off in the setting of a contemporary party. Maggots all over the ceiling? That doesn't even make sense. This movie does tell a lot about what art is valued in our society at this time, though. It also shows what level of intelligence is valued in our society at this time.
77.
Yeah, 77.
There's a dumb error.
Oy yo. Oh my gosh, this isn't even readable. What did I do here? Oh boy. I mustn't have liked
when the
this
dogs
one.
woke you up, right? 2:30 in the morning.
No, this one I watched first thing in the morning. Yeah. Anyway, so that's what happened there. Oh boy. Anyway, okay, I think I've got her now. Living in the Future's Past is produced and presented by Jeff Bridges. Fossil fuel is fossil sunlight. Our ancestors were sunlight. We are fossil sunlight. Solar energy can support maybe one person per square mile, says Dr. Joseph Tainter, professor of anthropology. We're maximizing digital surplus, money. Emergent behavior connectedness to internet rainfall belts predicted to move where? 300 cubic kilometers of ice loss in Greenland per year. To boil 1 quart of water takes the equivalent of 500 calories of food. Energy is the currency of life. Energy must be paid for with energy. Small tractor does the work of 40 horses. 90% of the work done in our society is done by fossil slaves. They poop and breathe, and their poop and breath is destroying our environment. 10 to 12 fossil calories used to produce 1 food calorie today. On a show like this, I don't want to hear from the overweight person. They can't maintain their own energy balance. I'm not going to tell you who said that quote. One of us did.
Well, I said it. So. I don't want to hear from people who can't balance their own energy budget. I really can't. They're not walking enough, and they're eating too much, especially the wrong
and they're
things.
Eating wrong things.
Stuff that's been traveled on average 2,000 miles.
If it's a symbiotic relationship, somebody in this movie said, I think it was the philosopher guy. Somebody said in this movie, talking about a symbiotic relationship and how it's confusing to see who's on the bottom or whatever. No, not in a symbiotic relationship, it's not. In a symbiotic relationship, it's not confusing at all. If you had half a brain and actually looked up what symbiotic meant, you would see how stupid you are to have said that in this movie.
Like someone should have edited. I mean, people say all sorts of stupid things.
Yeah, sure, but I mean, they had Jeff Bridges working on this one, so he didn't pick it up.
Yeah.
Anyway. Sometimes people are swept along with the sound of other people's voices. Pay attention to what is said and who is saying it. Are they speaking from their area of expertise or outside of their area of knowledge?
Yeah, like philosophers who don't know anything, really.
Wesley Clark, general in military, has more of use to say than interviewed philosophers, physicists, or North American elders in this video. I was really disappointed in some of these people.
I wonder what that anthropologist knows about actual support. You know what I'm saying? About has he done studies on the ecology? See, it was an anthropologist saying you need a square mile for support every person. You know how many square miles there are in Alberta?
I don't know.
About 250,000. So what he's saying, and it might be true, but I'd rather hear someone who's an ecologist or something like that who studies this kind of stuff. There are 250,000 square miles in Alberta. That means 250,000 people support. And Alberta is settled thinly by comparison with many parts of the world. And it's got, 3 million people? More?
Yeah.
4 million? I don't think it's 4 million.
I don't disagree with that guy. Anyway, where was I now? Yet we seem to have to hear the rantings of the philosopher author over everyone else. Why? Pretty accent? Attractive sting look? The documentary would have been more effective without him. Oh, a woman, says James, when a woman came onto the screen.
Yeah. I was saying, this was over halfway through, and she was only the third
I told him
featured.
I felt the same about this documentary.
Yeah.
There's an representation of white men in this documentary. Because of this...
Were there any people of color? Maybe there were, but...
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Because of this documentary comes across as totally patronizing, and like white man is forcing their opinions on us, and more than that, they are trying to force us to behave according to their prescribed thought. The documentary didn't mention one important energy flow and cost, that of the theoretical versus the actual. Those who hold power of knowledge or perceived knowledge have been compensated richly for their theoretical. And these people have tended to be white men in our society. Those who hold less of this power have to contribute more of their effort to feed the machine of our society, but receive less compensation for the actual work compared to those who provide the theoretical work. This documentary doesn't aim to express this, but it is the strong message that I am left with all the same. It also shows that most people would rather get lectured to by Sting than an educated white woman or anyone of color. What's funny is that these documentary makers managed to make a useful documentary in spite of themselves.
Well, exactly right. I mean, it's an issue. It's just obvious. So even Jeff Bridges figured out.
One white man basically told us, the viewers, that unless we are living out and off the grid, we should stop polishing off our halos. That's a quote. I disagree somewhat. Population is the problem. If we are living off the grid and have over one child per adult, we are still the problem, not the solution. If we're living on the grid, according to our needs, continue to educate and self-improve, and only have one child per adult, we are actually living responsibly.
Yeah,
so,
one thing, Guy did raise the issue of population, theoretically at least, the world can only support one person per square mile, right? But that wasn't followed up.
No, that wasn't.
It is the problem. It is the problem.
Where in the
For
world
global
I am now.
warming and for everything else.
Oh, all I put for this one, Queen, A Night at the Odeon. This was 1975. Was excellent. I don't need to say anything else. It was so good.
Although if you have the same taste as my dad, it would be A Night at the Odious. But it's...
it was great.
Oh, it was great.
Everyone should watch that one.
And my dad's 96, so...
Picnic at Hanging Rock. This movie launched Peter Weir's career. He went on to make The Truman Show. The show is symbolically sexual. It's set on Valentine's. The girls watch each other. Attention's drawn to clothing being removed. Gloves are kept on. Crevices in the rock represents the feminine. The girls pass into the narrow crevice. James really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
He was quite spooked by it. Seemed concerned that
Not
it might
really
be based on
spooked,
true story, but
Yeah.
it's just a novel.
It's just...
Classical title music leaves you to sit and continue to wonder over the movie. Doesn't prompt your action at all. I really liked that.
Did you actually watch it? Or?
Not much,
Okay, that was... No.
but I enjoyed listening to it.
Yeah.
The Grinch, the retelling of the story for the millionth time, says James. I didn't enjoy it at all.
No.
And finally, I just stopped watching it entirely.
No. Yeah, that's the usual.
There was one part that was funny about the Grinch was doing emotional eating, and that's why he had to go back to Whoville, because he'd run out of his stores of food for the winter.
Anyway, I gotta
Go
run
in.
inside because I've run out of my stores of calories.
Mm-hmm.
Wintry